Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Choice Solutions webinar with ControlUp. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dana Steinlage with Choice Solutions.
Hey, thanks, Ellie, and good morning, everybody. We appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us. So we're pretty excited to introduce and share a little bit with a new service that ControlUp has introduced to continue to bring continued value to tools that you have for your environment and having the best possible experience for your workforce with Citrix and other end user computing technologies. So I'm going to dive in, just share just real brief on kind of what we're excited about for today's event, and then kind of get Marcel and team going. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Choice Solutions and our team, many of you on this broadcast are. But for those of you we haven't had the opportunity to work with directly yet, a lot of our focus is on providing hybrid cloud solutions for businesses like yours. So we want to help be a partner with you, help you adopt simpler, more secure IT environments from the data center and or the cloud service all the way out to the endpoint. So just with simple cloud architectures, secure digital workspaces, automated IT services. We worked with 700 so companies across 34 different states in the last 5 years. Many of you guys are in different parts of the US. We're super excited to have the opportunity to be of service to you guys. And I'll share just a little bit kind of on, again, for today, what we're excited about. So you're leveraging end user computing solutions, right, for your workforce, and looking to ways to improve that user experience consistently with that digital workspace. Something we like about ControlUp, just you want, as an organization, you want tools to be able to monitor and also have baselines for what is that user experience in your workplace. You need insights, you need understanding of the experience your workforce is having, so you can have an understanding of what are anomalies, what's a good user experience, things like that. Because at the end of the day, as a business, you're looking to provide this great workspace for your end users so they can be productive. But also, there's several things that as a business, you guys are looking to achieve from an IT perspective as well as a business perspective in that area. So, but all the while, you've got constraints with in IT. As professionals, especially as advanced professionals as many of you are, you get pulled in many directions constantly, every day, and there's all these different constraints that you're dealing with. So there's a need for tools that are out there to help you get quick insights. So when there is a challenge you're experiencing in your workforce, maybe with your Citrix or end user computing platform, you have the insights and the monitoring and the ability to quickly diagnose and drill down into that service and or thing that might be contributing to the end user experience challenge. And that's just, again, another reason why we're huge advocates for ControlUp and the value of what they bring. So a lot of our core technology partners that we work with, help many of you on this call with how you're using Citrix. Nutanix as the underlying platform, both on-prem, but also with that hybrid cloud is another key partnership of ours. We also work a lot with iGel, which plays heavily into this as well with that secure endpoint. And then other technologies from UCaaS to endpoint management to endpoint security, as well as gateway security, and then Microsoft. So ControlUp's, with what we're doing here, ControlUp fits nicely with many of these core technology partnerships and have many integrations, which is also something that we're excited about. So when you're working with our team, I think, hopefully you've all experienced this that's worked with us. A couple things. One, just the overall care and investment we place into helping you be successful with things, and just the in-house expertise. So the skill sets we have, especially in end user computing and being a partner and advisor, understanding your challenges and helping you design and deploy advanced solutions to be successful. Just some of the top technical expertise in the country on our staff to help you out. And then, obviously there's a number of other areas with the choice and flexibility, and always committed to do the right thing. But I can say, as we transition into ControlUp and what they're going to share, all of our, our lead resources and our lead team, they're huge fans of ControlUp. There's a number of monitoring and end user, experience and monitoring solutions that are out there, in the marketplace. And ControlUp has definitely been our team's, hands down, that's been their favorite solution that they're always eager to introduce to you when you're having challenges or you need some visibility. It's something that they're always looking to introduce and help you as an organization understand and learn more about. So ControlUp's definitely been a great partnership for us. It's provided a ton of value to yourself, a lot and others in the marketplace. So we're very excited to introduce to you Marcel and ControlUp, to kind of, for those that may not be familiar with ControlUp, just learn a little bit more, but also to this new service, Scoutbees, and kind of taking that to the next level on the ability to proactively monitor and understand the health of your environment, so you can, again, always provide that best user experience for your workforce. So with that, I'd like to introduce Marcel and ControlUp to kind of take it from here.
Thank you, Dana. And let me show my screen. Can you see my screen, Dana?
Yes, we can see it. Thanks, Marcel.
Yep.
Okay. So quick overview for those that might not be familiar with ControlUp. Our solution, which is used by thousands of customers already throughout the world, and in a lot of them in the US, allows you to monitor and remediate any issues on your Citrix or other remote access solution that you're providing to your customers. We have connections to the hypervisors, which are a key component on any of these solutions, because they provide the platform on which your VDI or Citrix are running. We connect to the end user computing sites, the Citrix side. We can connect to Citrix Cloud on our 8.2 that will be released soon. We'll have that connection as well. And we can give you multiple data points for every computer and every user, so that you could have a true measure of what's happening. And a couple of examples is you could look at what's happening at your hypervisor hosts, identify what is happening at that hypervisor host, detect an issue, drill down into the VMs on that hypervisor, and then from here identify both from data coming from vCenter or the virtualization platform and data coming from the operating system, that this is probably the likely cause of that issue, and you could further drill down all the way down to the processes. Again, more than happy to show this for anybody that has not seen it. We can schedule time afterwards one-on-one. I did want to leverage the tool and show for transparency that I am, if I was to call right now to our data center and complain that I'm not having a really good user experience, here's my session. You can see that I am definitely on a challenging network, 122 milliseconds of average latency, 136 milliseconds of latency currently experiencing. You can see that the maximum bandwidth that Citrix is detecting for my remote connection is about 5.6 megabits per second, but worry not, in case you've never asked yourself that question, or you probably have but never had the answer of what is the average bandwidth that a Citrix session consumes. You can safely say that if your users are not using this for video playback and things of that sort, 10, 20, 30 kbps is what you need to get for your users. So ControlUp can definitely validate that. You can see right now I'm doing 0.01 megabits per second, which is roughly 10 kbps. The other aspect of the ControlUp main product is that it has all of that data also in historical. So we can look at what happened yesterday in the system, or maybe look at a whole month of data and identify things like high logon durations, latency, or highlights. This is one that I really like. When a user logs in after a large number of days, we'll kind of flag that as unusual activity. As the system uploads your information, it'll basically look when was the last time each user that logged into your system logged in last, and if you have any anomalies. So this is one of our Europe technical personnel. He logged in after 160 days. He usually works on their Europe lab, but he did log into our lab yesterday, and we can flag that. In this case, I can explain exactly what it is. What you don't want to see here is multiple users that are not in the company anymore logging in, or hundreds of new users without you knowing that they were provisioned. And this is really nice because aside from the metrics, it gives you a lot of context on the data, including how did you do week over week for each of the metrics. So my RAM from computers went down, the CPU went down week over week for my hypervisors, logons went up, latency went down, so on and so forth. And again, the brief introduction of what the ControlUp main product does, and let's jump into Scoutbees. So before I go into that, ControlUp is designed to monitor on what's happening to your users and remediate issues that they're having. The one corner where ControlUp doesn't give you the full picture is what happens if at 4 a.m. everything looks green in ControlUp, all machines are ready, but there is a failure that all of them working as a complete apparatus wouldn't allow your users to come in. And that's where Scoutbees comes in and allows you to have a platform that will give you a fully managed solution to make synthetic transactions. What it does is it will test either from the cloud or internally. And what the test will do is they will go to your storefront, Netscaler, whatever resource you're using to publish your apps. It'll validate that a user can log into that system. It'll validate that a resource is that you choose is offered to that user, and that the user can launch that resource and get to a working session. So end to end, from the user being able to reach your Netscaler gateway or UAG or storefront site, being able to validate himself against an Active Directory, and then getting the resource published and being able to launch them. Let's take a look at how that looks. So this is the Scoutbees home page. Again, it's a managed service. You don't have to do anything, any backend to create. We do all of that for you. Basically, after you sign up, you could go straight and create a Scout or a test, and I'll talk about the terminology in a second. You could choose one of the hives. You have multiple hives that are available already in the cloud. So this would be a test connecting to your system from a location in AWS, East Virginia. I'm going to connect to my Citrix virtual app and desktop or to my Netscaler gateway. I'll provide the address for that. HTTP Acme. I'll provide a username and a password. There is the option of providing a one-time password if needed. I'll choose what are to populate the resources available. So the nice thing here is this system will go and based on what you selected here and the credentials that you gave, request the resources that are available for you on the different farms that you might have. You can select the resource you want to test. How often do you want that test to recur? So it could be every 60 minutes, every 15, 30, or 60 minutes, and then schedule that test and create an alert policy. What this means is that the system on the backend will test using this user logging into this Netscaler or gateway URL, identify that it gets this resource offered, launch it and complete a whole test, and it will repeat it every 5, 15, 30, or 60 minutes as you choose. I won't complete this because then we'd have to wait for the test to complete, but I'll show you how the result of that test looks like. So you can see, first of all, I can schedule multiple tests to different applications or different resources that the users have published to them. Different gateways, and it could be Netscaler, Storefront, Horizon, whatever you have, you can test. Where is it launched from? And I showed you how you can launch from the cloud, but there's also a way to launch from inside a location within your environment. And then what credentials to use. And here, yes, you can test with your personal credentials, but I do recommend down the road, use a service account. If not, that credential, that account will try to log in and create that login with that account. And if it's your account, you'll steal the session or they'll steal your session. Again, as it would happen with any anytime you use reuse accounts. Let's take a look at this launch, and I'm going to purposely show you a launch that was internal so that you could see everything that is available there. I can see that that launch has been successful 100% of the time. The average is 14 seconds to ready, and I can drill into those results and see each result in the last 12 hours. Was it a success or not? How long did it take for authentication? ICA round trip time, and you could see the whole list of parameters that were tested over here and the whole login process. So authentication was pretty fast, under a second. First slow kind of thing was connecting to the ICA file that was downloaded. The initialization of the session, 2 seconds, and then it took another 10 seconds for the session ready. And as a bonus, we will send you a screenshot of how it looked at the end. So if this is not what you would want to see, you could consider this a failed test, and we will be offering in the future something that will allow you to compare the image result to an expected image result. Okay, one more component, and for that, I'm going to go to my only slide. And what we've talked about is there are cloud hives that we provide as part of the service. Through the Scoutbees service, you can orchestrate scouts or Scoutbees that will reach into your gateway, NetScaler, UAG, or maybe the storefront if that's all that you want to test. They'll reach in, authenticate that the resource can be allocated, get the ICA or resource identification, and then launch that whole session to the business application and validate that it's available within a reasonable time. If you want to test internally, you definitely can. You would require to deploy a service, single executable you download. You could run it on any PC on your domain or any server or VM, and it will run those tests internally. It gives you the advantage that now, for example, you could have a Scoutbee testing your NetScaler gateway from the outside, and then also multiple Scoutbees testing direct connections to your individual storefront servers. That way you could know that if the overall test fails, if the overall test is performing well, you know that users have accessibility, but if one of your independent tests going to one of your storefront fails, you know that you have a failure in one of your redundant components. And the idea of having redundant components is to actually have the service available and being able to service the independent components, but you don't want to forget that you want to test those, because if redundancy fails, you might still be running, but then if a second failure happens, then you're out. Let's talk about alerting. So going back to the Scoutbees console, I can go over here. I can take one of my tests, for example, and decide that I switch to the buckets view. I can create an alert policy for that test, and that alert policy, it will allow me to choose what do I consider an alert. If that test overall fails, there's no session ready, something failed at any stage, I can get alerted for that. I can also add other conditions. So even if the test succeeded, but there was a specific time, it was greater than. So any of the metrics you could set here an additional threshold for that alert. So if any of these conditions fail or succeed with greater than 45 seconds to connect to session, then get an alert either by email or by webhook, where you can configure a webhook address, authentication, and you can even add custom headers and custom fields if your alerting ticketing system requires that. Other features of Scoutbees, you have the option of configure a daily digest. So you could set an email that gets sent to your team or anybody that you choose within to add here. What time do you want that email to be sent, so that everybody gets a summary of what the status was on the availability of the system. It's slightly different, but it has the same information you see here. What are the tests? What is the availability of that individual test? Time to session ready, and a little bit of the parameters to give you context to the data. As you saw, and you would expect with a product that is built for enterprise, you could have multiple users, and different levels of access. So administrators, viewers, or editors, depending on what you want to grant. So maybe you have a lot of users from help desk that they need to have viewer access, but you don't want them playing around and configuring additional tests or modifying your current test. And if you need multiple admins, you can also add those. So to recap a little bit what I've gone through, Scoutbees is provided as a service, fully managed. You don't have to install anything to get started. The only choice that you have, if you want, is to install those internal launchers. Okay, and those internal launchers allow you to do tests that you might not be able from the outside. For example, if you have applications that are offered internally, you could test that. You could test the individual components of your solution, which might not be exposed from the outside because they're all offered through a load access through a gateway that is load balanced, and you could create proactive alerts. There are other products that do similar things. I think that we've looked at the deficiencies of what the products are, what the needs are in the field, and try to build something that will allow you to get value out of this quick and be able to integrate it into your overall monitoring system for your end user computing environment. So Dana, I haven't been monitoring the chat. Have there been any questions so far?
Yeah, there was one question, and then just want to encourage everybody on here. Marcel, thanks for kind of going through that initially and showing that. But if you have questions, please use the chat channel. Fire away. We also have another engineering specialist from ControlUp, Roger, on as well, kind of monitoring the chat window and able to answer questions or speak to those. So I don't know, Ellie or Roger, if there's any questions you want to bring up to have Marcel kind of talk through.
Yeah, there was just one so far. So Matt asked, can this handle apps protected by modern authentication?
Yes, it can. So when let me go and show that. When I go to create a Scout, I can select my gateway type, and then you have the ability, gateway, sorry about that, and you have the ability to define your one-time password solution. If you have a static pin and you want to go with that, that can be done. If you have a TOTP code, we don't have a camera that takes the picture. You would have to copy paste it from the page where you're subscribing the user to the one-time password into the system, and it could definitely do that. We also have support for SMS. If somebody needs that, there is an extra cost because there's a cost for the SMS service. But if you have the TOTP code, which is usually what you grab from your authentication system and you put into the Google, Microsoft authenticator on your phone, we could definitely support that. So if you provide the system with the TOTP code, you can enroll a user with a TOTP code. Hopefully that answered the question. For Matt?
Yes, and there was actually, he had a follow-up question.
Please.
Would this all work with Azure AD, since that's where the login would occur?
So I know that we have integrated with the Azure AD login for Citrix Cloud. If you are notice that as you go to create your Scout or your individual test, you will provide us what is the gateway that we need to approach, and that will do all the magic behind the scenes to make sure that fields are populated wherever you need to. When you're doing Citrix Cloud Gateway with Azure AD, I know we have already integrated that. If you're doing it in other ways with NetScaler, please contact us and we could gladly take a look at that and see if it's something that is already supported or if we need to do something. And we could definitely respond to those requests and try to make it into the product as fast as possible. So we're very dynamic, being a young product. It definitely works. It does what it needs to do. If there's any edge cases, we're able to address them rather quickly. And just to complement on that, even if there's an unsupported solution at the moment, you can always use a custom Hive and connect and launch directly to your internal resources, which will test the availability of that resource the same way but through a storefront. And usually on the storefronts, authentication is much simpler. And
Okay.
thank you for the questions, Matt.
Yeah. And then two more. So can Scoutbees detect other services in the session like FSLogic's mounting properly?
So for that, what we're doing right now is, again, on the product, the first thing that we're doing is we're taking a screenshot of what's happening on the session. And there is one of the features coming is you'll be able to define what this screenshot should look like exactly. So for example, if FSLogix is adding a drive or adding a shortcut on the desktop, and that would be something visible, you could actually say if that screenshot doesn't have that, it's considered an invalid launch. Again, this is one thing, the first thing that we're doing, which is very simple. You'll define what the screenshot to look like and what is considered a valid test with a valid screenshot, and we'll do the compare. We're also working to add some functionality like login VSI, where you can script something to happen in that session. And that's where you could go and validate that a specific path is the way it's supposed to look. Or if you try to go to a path and you get an error not available, then that would trigger a failure.
Okay, and then one other question. Can this be used to troubleshoot latency on iGel thin clients accessing O365 email?
So I would say no. At the moment, we do work very closely with iGel in a couple of different things. We have the ability of monitoring iGels directly on the ControlUp console. So if you do have iGel and you want to look into what we could do with iGel devices in the console, we have the ability to monitor those iGel devices directly from ControlUp. And things like some of them are turned off right now, be able to identify how long have they been up, what's the CPU memory on each one of them, and drill down into what's happening on them, and identify if there's any bottlenecks in CPU or memory. You also have the ability to invoke a iGel UMS commands directly from here. So whether it's reboot a machine, send a wake up if it's not turned on, push an update from the UMS. So you cannot configure or change the assigned profiles, but you definitely can push updates from here, or just pull the list of assigned profiles to that from that machine. And this will basically go to the iGel UMS and pull the data. So it's not replacing the iGel UMS, it's just bringing some of that API functionality so that your support team doesn't have to jump there to verify what are the profiles or what are the current state of the details of an iGel device, monitor the connected, not connected, CPU speed, so on and so forth. Hopefully that answered the question. I don't know who it was that asked it, but we definitely interact with them.
Yes, that was all the questions for now. Thank you. And keep the questions coming if you guys want. And we can also follow up with you guys directly if you have more questions.
Yep. Again, I'm a big believer of showing you the basics. I know there's always more questions. I could dwell into the details, but the questions are really where you can really get the answer. The reason of this is we're here to answer those questions. But just to highlight some of the features, as I mentioned earlier, you have the ability to have those tests from the outside. They will test from the cloud directly into your gateway, or test from inside into your internal storefront, and test through that. The advantage of the cloud is it can test your one-time password, plus it also requires absolutely no infrastructure for you to set up, because the launcher is in the cloud, and so is all the backend administration. With the on-prem hives, you do have to install that on-prem hive let me go through that install, which is the one thing that you would have to install if you choose to do that. So in the hives, you would go and select to add a hive. You would download the installer. You'll give that hive a name. And then you will get a hive key, which was you can copy to your clipboard. And then on the hive install, you'll plug in the key, and that's all you need to do. That machine would be ready for you to be used as a launcher. And just to highlight that it really can be installed anywhere, this is the machine I'm presenting from. And it is running as a hive. It does have a scheduled test, doesn't interfere with me. It's just running in the background. If I was to go to Task Manager and look at the services, you would see that there is the Scoutbees hive service. And it is completely running on the background. It doesn't even rely on my Citrix receiver. So it's really unintrusive. And as I said, you could put it on a user PC. You could put it on multiple locations. Right now, actually, our remote branch launcher, Scoutbees launchers is down. There was a power outage on that machine, and I was running it really from the nurse's PC, and the power supply went down. So I'm waiting for them to replace the power supply. Once they power that PC up, even if the nurse doesn't log in, the remote launcher will immediately start working. So it's really powerful that you could really put this hives or this launchers throughout your organization. And when you launch from inside your organization, we're able to also capture not just all the logon sequence, but the ICA RTT from that device into the Citrix session. So I know we said we would leave 5 minutes for questions, and we've already had some questions. But from my side, if there are no more questions, I'm more than glad to give people time back on their calendar.
Great. Hey,
Yep,
Ellie, any further questions?
Nope, there's no more questions.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Marcel, thank you very much for sharing and kind of going through the Scoutbees service and the potential that could have to kind of go further on, just the overall health of all the services that kind of are critical to kind of executing together for a great user experience with Citrix and your end user computing platforms. If there's any questions, we'll be sure to follow up, folks. But if there's any questions, let's let us know. If there's anybody that's not as familiar with ControlUp yet and you'd like to learn, maybe go spend a little bit more time just going through the core tool itself and what they're doing there, we can certainly work with you to set up just a one-on-one there with 30, 45 minutes of your time, and with the ControlUp team to kind of dive into that further if you aren't already invested in their technology. So it's a fantastic tool. It's brought a lot of value to our customers, something our top engineers are very, very enthusiastic about recommending and encouraging anytime they're getting in and troubleshooting and helping a customer kind of unpack a challenge they might be having in their environment, and a lot of ongoing value as well. So Marcel and the team from ControlUp, thank you. We appreciate everyone's time joining us today. Again, if there's further questions, let us know. We'll look forward to following up and sharing more information with everybody. So thanks again for your time. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,